to lift your leg. This is our first episode and our introduction of who we are. You are here with Monique Anstey from Victoria, BC.
And Jill Brown from Calgary, Alberta.
And Matthew Twitty from Cherokee, Alabama. So today, our goal is to introduce ourselves. So we want to introduce ourselves, give you guys an idea about the trainers we are and where we're coming from and why we wanted to start the podcast. So I'm going to start off today by interviewing Monique. So Monique, how long have you been training dogs?
35 years.
Wow.
That's slightly horrifying.
So 35 years, and in 35 years, what do you think your favorite part about training is?
Working with weird dogs that are a puzzle to me that I have to work out.
So the challenge of the odd behaviored animal.
The odd behaviored animal that I don't understand, so I have to dig deep to think about how to communicate with them.
What's the highest level you've achieved in dog training? Because you do a lot of different sports, so you've done a lot of different things. Tell us about what you feel is your biggest accomplishment.
It's not really a single accomplishment because it's all been a journey. But I would say dogs have just given me an amazing life so far. I've gotten to travel the world. I've made amazing friends from my two mentors in Vancouver that have helped me for 17 years or more. My friendship with Peter and Connie Scherk and Lisa Scherk in Germany, working with Mia Skogstad. And probably I am also proud that I managed to write my book. So I think those are my accomplishments, but it's also just kind of what dogs have given to me in my life.
Recently, let's say in the last, 15 years, been dealing with Peter and Mia and them. Who was your mentor before that?
Sylvia Bishop. And I worked with Sylvia for a long, long time. I was with her about 5 times a year.
Wow.
No, more than that. Yeah, probably about 5-6 times a year.
Wow. Now, would you fly there or would you have her come here?
She came here, but I also flew there.
So you do that a lot where you go and visit these trainers in other countries.
Yes. So Sylvia was here many, many times before I went there. But when I went there, it's still different. Like seminars are seminars.
Yeah.
When you're going and getting privates from someone and they're helping you with your dog without an audience, without other people around, it's different. It's just so different. Watching them interact with their own dogs, that was one of the most valuable pieces, I think.
Yeah, I think that one of my favorite videos of Sylvia's was her living with dogs. Like that was, and so many people thought it was like, but like, why did she make this? And it's like, because that was the magic. Like right there was the magic.
That was, I agree.
It was pretty cool. Tell me about your dogs in your household right now.
I have darling Sloth Rupert, who is my Basset Hound and lying beside me in his normal position of flat out sleeping. Pippa Border Collie, who is now 10 years old, which is tragic. And we've spent the last few days lambing and moving sheep from freezing temperatures into the barn. So she's in heaven. I have Rotten Harry Malinois, who is now 3 years old, and hopefully will be my next competition dog in IGP. We have started. We have Kate, who's 11 and a half. She's my rescue Border Collie. There's not much to be said about Kate, other than she'll live forever because she has enough anger to fuel that.
There's lots to be said about Kate.
And then we have my husband's dog, Little Mojito, his Chihuahua.
And?
Did I forget something?
Yes.
Did I forget a dog?
Yes.
Johnny! Johnny German Shepherd, who's the most magnificent German Shepherd to ever have been born, who's now 6 years old, which is terribly old for Johnny. He has to live forever.
That's pretty incredible. Like, living with a big pack of dogs. Tell me about your favorite part of your daily routine with your dogs.
Hiking with them every morning when I
You
walk them,
you
letting them run free, be dogs.
Yeah, you ignited that in me. It's one of my favorite things to do now with all my dogs, is to enjoy them on a walk. And
It's the most important thing for them. It really is. And I think I learned that from Sylvia. And as you look at all of the great trainers, they all do it. Every one of them, their dogs get that mental free time and they're out exercising, moving their bodies every single day.
how many classes do you teach a week?
It does vary. Right now, I'm at 3 because most of my focus is on board and trains. So I'm working a lot more than that, but just 3 group classes a week.
So, what would you say your favorite group class is to teach?
Growl, working with reactive dogs. I love it. Now, that's right now. I also, when I have the right group, bravery is my favorite class. But if I don't have the right group, bravery is the most difficult class. So, growl, I love. I'm helping people with their reactive dogs. And the progress you can't argue, like, it's obvious. A dog walks by them and their dogs don't care. So it's easy to grade their progress. I love that class just because you're really doing something important, helping all these people enjoy their dogs.
So, tell me about your board and trains. Name your top 3 behaviors you're going to teach a board and train.
I do more rehab. So teaching them to be confident and comfortable with dogs and the world is what I'm doing. So my current one has people reactivity, probably dog reactivity, environment reactivity, anger issues. She's impulsive.
Sounds like you.
I knew that was coming.
And it's helping her ground herself, find her power, and learning to use that in a more functional way. And I can't say I've made progress yet, so I'll keep you posted.
We all met each other. Like I said, you said Pippa's 10, and that's incredible because I'm actually Pippa's breeder. So we knew each other a couple of years before that. It's been one of these crazy things, like, to think about how long we've known each other and like the things that we've talked about over the years. But you don't do clinics very often. I know that we had that conversation about enjoying them. There's a lot that can go wrong with a clinic. Like you can get ill, like we just you can get ill, you can have the wrong group, you can hurt somebody's feelings by what you say or things like that happen. But tell me about when you give a clinic, what are your main goals? Like when you give a clinic, what's your main goal of coming to present what you are doing?
Ooh, probably bravery is easy because again, you can see the difference. So bravery, teaching people to enjoy their dogs. That's my goal. But understand, some people are so wound up tight that that's a huge goal. But through games, you can get there. So that's probably bravery, is teaching people how to enjoy their dogs and be fair to their dogs, to understand them a little bit better. And I think probably right there, as I say that, the same applies to healing. With all of the stuff like this, like it's not all fun and games, but everything should be kind of taught through games and then taken from there and adapted as needed. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, in a roundabout way. One of the things that I admired about you was how different what you were doing compared to everybody else. And so like when somebody asks me why should I go see Monique's seminar, I'm like, it's brilliant. It's terrifying. But it's brilliant at the same time. It's like, and it's like you've got to just see it. Like I don't know how to explain it to you. And sometimes I know that, like, you know, for myself, I'm a very A, get this down pat, B, get this down pat, C, and you're not like that at all. Like you're like, throw this shit on the wall and let's get to training and having a good time. Which, you know, a lot of us that are type A are like, that stresses me out a little bit, which is the point. The point is to stress the owner out a little bit so they can stop being so anal retentive. Do you find this really hard with more?
Matthew got another phone call.
Yep. He'll be back. I wonder if it's as long as his voicemail takes to kick in.
I'm going to write down the time. 13:48.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. So if my phone goes to the home screen, that's when it shuts
Okay.
off. So like I got to keep my finger on this. No, where did I end there? Sorry. I hope we can edit this.
We can. I wrote down the time so it'll be easier.
Okay. So what was
Go
the
ahead,
last?
start.
What was
the
last?
last thing Matthew was saying? It stresses you out training with Monique.
Oh, that's so shady. So like, it would stress somebody like me out. That's a type A person. That's like A, B, C. But that's the whole point of bravery, is to get these type A trainers to loosen up and
Out of their heads.
Yeah, out of their heads. Do you find that that's more difficult with an experienced trainer than a novice?
No, it depends on the person. And maybe that's not really a question I can answer. No, I have to really think about this now. Because mostly I'm dealing with my people here, so I'm not sure I'm really dealing with experienced people. So I'm having to kind of think back through my memory here of experienced people. And if I'm using myself as that student, yes, I'm a very difficult student.
Agreed.
Because I'm too busy processing and thinking about what you're saying to be in that moment of feel and timing. But then when I do it, I'll have it.
When you're doing your board and trains, you're doing your group classes, how do you carve out time for your own dogs?
My dogs go walking first thing in the morning. Then I'm dealing with my board and trains. I will rarely add my board and trains to my own dogs group because I think it's just nicer for them. They don't always want to have someone else there. I train Harry. I have to schedule it so that it does happen. And as I say that, I haven't done that at all this week, but he gets trained Wednesday mornings, Thursday mornings, then Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. I will try and maybe squeak in a tiny bit with him Wednesday evenings, possibly Monday evenings before group class. But generally, I give myself Mondays and Tuesdays off because I'm just too tired to deal with him. And I'm not in the right headspace. So he gets his hikes on those days. But it has to be scheduled in or he easily gets forgotten.
Do you think that becomes, like, I know that for myself, like the more that I work, the less time my dogs get. And it's because, like, you know, when we're helping so many people, like the last thing you want to go do is give 150% of yourself to your dog. And we all know
that's why it has to be first.
Yeah, it has to be first. I agree with that. That's kind of where I was going. It has to be first thing in the morning for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I gotta get up. I've got to walk my dogs, come back and feed them, give them a little bit of break.
Yeah.
I work a boarding dog, and then after that boarding dog, it's like, all right, it's my dog's turn.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah. Over the years, there have been lots of new people getting into the dog training realm. conversations about different seminar presenters and different trainers, and we've seen them go from zero to hero and then back to zero. What would you say to look for in a dog trainer if you were a pet person, and then what to look for in a dog trainer if you were looking to get into your sport?
Sport, I would look at an instructor who has gotten other people to the level that you want to compete at. So while you do need to look at their success, I think it's more important you look at their student success. And I think that is where Peter and Connie Sherk absolutely shine, because many of their people have won worlds. How does that happen? Like, that speaks so much to the caliber and what a coach, the degree of coaching that they're able to give to their people. So for us competitors, look at your coach and where their students, how much they've managed to achieve. In the pet dog world, somebody that is competing themselves, don't believe just a brand new, shiny, flashy website. Me personally, I want someone with at least 10 years behind them, because prior to that, when we first start in this profession, we have very different views than we do 10 years in. At the first, we believe every dog can be saved. 10 years in, we're much more realistic. I'm not saying that within not so much every dog can be saved, but we have more empathy for people when it's not working. We understand that your dog bit your child is more important, not we must just save the dog. That's what I mean. So I think 10 years in, there's a lot more empathy.
And my last question for you today is, what made you want to do a podcast?
It was it's been on my mind for years, but I've always dismissed it. It was the conversation you and I had recently, where we found out our one friend had died, and therefore all the knowledge that she had went with her. And several of other mentors that I've had, they're also in that same age bracket, and all that knowledge is soon about to die unless we start saving it. Because the knowledge from back then, it taught us how to think like trainers rather than just be a recipe book for exercises. But to think as trainers, there were principles to follow that you can apply. But then within that, you then had to know what type of dog you were working with and how to apply that principle for each individual dog. And that feel and timing in today's dog training, for the most part in the pet dog world for certain, is gotten lost. Training has been made more pleasant and more easier to achieve mediocrity, but achieving excellence has been forgotten because there's no feel and timing involved anymore. And I'm too stubborn to let that die. That's what all of dog training should be about. So this is my attempt to keep that alive. Am I off the hook now? Can I interview?
Yes, now
one of you two?
Now I can sit back and just listen, and you can interview Jill.
Okay. I don't want to interview Jill. No, I'm just joking. Jill, what made you want to do this podcast other than me being your bossy friend?
I was going to say, my bossy friend that phoned me one day and said, do you want to do a podcast?
All right.
No, but I agree with you. It's because there are so many ideas out there that are forgotten or going to be forgotten. And we need to get them out there so that they aren't.
And I think we need to teach people how to think in this way too, because dog training has become really complicated, even though it's so simple nowadays. And it's still teachable. We all managed to learn it, so others can too. It's just that no one's really teaching it. Sorry, exactly. I'm taking over your interview. All right. What is your main sport in dogs?
Obedience.
Highest level?
Highest level was a GMOC with my punch dog. That's the highest Canadian title you can get, Grandmaster Obedience Trial Champion.
Okay.
I have a
And
couple of American UDs as well.
what are your breed?
Golden Retrievers,
We won't judge you for that.
best breed out there.
What is it about the Goldens you love?
There's a lot of breeds out there that I love and admire, but I know that I would ruin if I had them. German Shepherd being one of them. They would be a menace. I love the Goldens. I love the temperament, the desire to work with, the ability to do almost every sport you want to do. They're a breed you can throw into anything and have fun with. And I love the temperament. I love having just a squishy dog that for the most part you shouldn't have to worry about around people and other dogs unless you're lucky and you get one that isn't that way.
I have a question. Who is a mentor that has changed your way of thinking in dogs? If there is one.
Oh geez, are you just wanting a pat on the back?
No?
Well, it probably was you. You
Okay.
did a lot to change my my relationship with my dogs. My expectations, I don't know if that's a correct word, but I used to be one that would follow the recipe, as you put it. This is what we do to get here. Now I'm not in a rush to get anywhere. I'm enjoying what I have, and I enjoy the relationship that I've created with my dogs now.
What other mentors have you had that have formed who you are as a trainer?
Local trainers here in Calgary. Jackie Hasty, I've trained with, I won't say how many years because it's been a long, long time. Pauline Baldwin, Kathy Stoner. Those would be the big people that I started with and am still training with.
Those were my three teachers too. Kathy was my first ever instructor, and then Jackie and Pauline certainly were the start of making me who I am. They are amazing, amazing trainers.
Yep.
And totally unknown, which is shocking.
Yeah. Pauline has done a few seminars and I think is doing more now. Jackie has no desire to. And I'm not sure if Kathy would want to or not, but all three of them are amazing trainers.
What else do I have to ask you? Matthew, any questions for Jill?
What's your favorite thing about to train a dog to do?
Really? You're gonna ask me that, Matthew?
Forge and healing.
Yeah.
I was not gonna say it, but I was gonna be like, oh, I know what it is, Jill. But
yeah,
if you know.
healing. I love training healing. Most people will say I don't train healing, I train forging. But
Agreed.
yes, healing is healing and signals. I like those are my two big ones.
Okay.
Do you do anything dog related, like as far as the industry goes? Do you train people's dogs? Do you make equipment? What kind of things do you do in the dog industry?
I'm the bag lady. So there will be some people out there that have my article bags. I also do armbands, puppy collars. Teach, no, I'm not good at standing up in front of a crowd, so that's never been something for me to do. But I'm happy to help people one-on-one. That I'm good with.
How long have you been training?
She's old.
I am old. I've been training for probably 35 years. A long time. Probably longer than you've been alive, Matthew.
Okay, let's not make younger jabs and be bitter.
It's Matthew's turn.
No, I'm not done with Jill. I'm not done.
No, you're done. You're done. Fine, you can ask her one more question.
What is the most important thing that you think somebody looking for a dog trainer needs to
Oh,
know?
good question.
Is this, are we talking like a household pet dog trainer or a
Yeah.
competition
Both.
trainer?
Both.
Both.
Do both.
I think the main thing I would want to see is a trainer that has true relationships with their dogs.
How would
So-
people know what that looks like, though?
I don't. I want to see a dog that has joy in working with its owner. I don't want to see the dog with the tail down doing everything it's told, tail down, ears back, just because it has to. I want the dog to be joyful in the stuff that it's being asked to do. Someone who you can look at them and tell that they truly do enjoy their dog. Like they just love being around their dogs. Yeah, I'd want them to spend some time with the trainer, with their own dogs, and get a feel for how they are with them.
I do have to
Yeah.
say, in teaching group classes, people change with me once they've seen me with Pippa.
I think people would change with you when they've seen you with any of your dogs.
Yeah.
Because there just is, there's a relationship that, I mean, it's hard to describe it, but you just know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Like a dog that wants to walk away from its owner or go spend all of its time with somebody else, that's not a dog that has a super relationship with its owner handler.
And what would you tell people to look for if they're looking for a competition trainer?
Like you said, I want to see trainers. I want to know what they have done, what levels they've competed at, but most importantly is where they've been able to get their students to. And somebody who is less about making the handler feel good
Yeah.
than showing them how to make their dogs feel good or
Yeah.
be better dogs.
All right. It's your turn for Matthew.
Oh, you'll have to jump in here with me because.
Now look, this is not going to be beat on Matt.
Why
Well,
not?
then
It's a sport.
Then I'm done. Okay, Matthew, what was your very first dog you had?
So when I was 2, my mom had Cocker
2.
Spaniel. So I actually have a very fond memory that is the farthest reaching memory that I have of me hiding a Cocker Spaniel puppy under my bed because I didn't want it to get sold.
You stole a puppy at 2 years old.
I was a dog thief at 2, yeah.
Oh, well done.
My dad hunted with German short hair pointers, so I've been like raised around dogs my whole life.
Okay.
The first dog I ever did any training with was a German Shepherd named Holly. And she was incredible. I loved the way a German Shepherd thinks. She was too much dog for me, and I had to get rid of her. And at that point, I was like, I'm never going to have a dog that's not trained again. And I went dogless for a little while. And then on Valentine's Day, I got a Shetland sheepdog, and that was Tyler. And I started training him with what I knew from Holly, and he ended up getting his obedience championship, my novice to Arch dog.
Nice. And now you have Border Collies.
I do. Through all the things that I did with Tyler, I fell in love with Border Collie, even though it took a couple more Shelties for me to back out. And I now have Border Collies, which I said I'd never have a Border Collie, and now
Oh, telephone call coming in.
I'll ask the next question while he's doing that, if I can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We're going back at Matthew with his own question. Is what's the most important thing a person should look for in a trainer? Let's start with pet dog people first.
I think the most important thing that somebody should look for in a trainer is, one, have they trained a dog like yours? So like this is one of those pieces for me that is really hard, because there's not enough interviewing going on when you hire somebody like this. And if I only had field Goldens and that's how I train dogs, and then you bring me a Shih Tzu, we're talking about something totally different. So like, I would want to see people see them how they've trained dogs with similar issues and similar temperaments to yours.
Good point.
Okay.
And in a competition train, good
Yeah.
luck. Like that. I like you guys have said as well. I want to see somebody with good students, but I also want to see that I want to see a competition trainer that's taken students with a variety of temperaments and not just somebody that's cherry picked temperament. You know, like if you can only train one type of dog, that's fine. But you know, I want to see. I'm no longer impressed with trainers that are with high drive Malinois and high drive Goldens and even high drive Border Collies. I want to see them compete and make a champion out of something weak and weird.
On that note, Matthew and I recently were discussing Anne. Anne's students are phenomenal, which says so much about Anne as a trainer.
We should get her on the podcast.
We should.
Like,
We should have her one week.
Anne Paul is one of the most gracious and lovely people in our sport.
And humble, and a phenomenal trainer. And every one of her students has her stamp on them. Her students look great, and
With
all of them
many-
look great.
With many different breeds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like she
Yep.
definitely checks off that box.
Yep, for
And
sure.
I would love to do her. Like she's pretty incredible.
She really is. What's your next question for Matthew, Jilly?
Oh, what is your sport of choice?
So I would have told you competitive obedience. I've had 2 obedience champions and you know, a UD, a dog that's placed at lots of the tournaments and stuff like that. But recently I've gotten into sheep herding trials and I absolutely love, and I'm not a venue snob. Like some people only do USBCHA, some people only do AKC. Like if it's a herding trial, I'm going. Like I like to go to all of it. I find herding trials to be one of the hardest and most humbling. And what is great about a herding trial is the best trainer can be walked off the field the same day that a novice wins it. Like, I mean, I just love that part of it. Like there's so many unknowns when you step to the herding post. So like herding is definitely capturing a lot of my time lately.
Yeah.
When you're doing your seminars, what is your favorite part of that and what is the hardest part of it? Besides driving everywhere.
Somebody recently asked me this question and they're like, well, you've been doing this a long time. You've been going around the country for like 13 years now. And why do you like it? And I really think that there are a lot of people that need to learn to read dogs better. And I think there's a lot of good people out there that are looking for solutions to their problems, and yet they want to be kind to their dogs and they want to achieve success. And in that I can relate wholeheartedly. Like I've been that person that has went down the path of my instructor said to do this, we did it for 8 months, the dog's attitude was in the toilet, my attitude was in the toilet. I had to think totally different, and in order to think different I needed somebody to do that, like to say, hey, it's time to think differently about this. And so, you know, I feel like I give that to people, like try to bring energy and fun and like, you know, we're not curing cancer, we're training dogs for competition. So like, let's make this fun, like stop stressing about this. there are easy ways to do some of this stuff. I really find that spatial pressure is an easier correction than other stuff that people use, and so like herding's really brought that forward for me. So like I think that the big thing for me is I get a lot out of helping a lot of people. I enjoy being in a clinic situation. I enjoy giving clinics, and I enjoy like seeing everybody and watching their dogs age and get better, and I like all that.
Matthew, what made you decide to do this podcast?
So before you and I had talked about this, the podcast made a lot of sense to talk about things that I think that we're missing now in dog training. I think that there's a lot of people that need to hear it's okay. This has worked in the past. These people were better. So like for me, like back in the 90s, there were 80 dogs in utility B. Okay, so we take 80 dogs. And the top 4 placements, they were competing with anywhere between a 198 and a 200.
Yep.
The standard was so high.
Yep.
And now people are competing in classes of 4 and winning, and then those people are becoming the gold standard. So like we look at judging has changed, people's eye has changed. I won't say that we've dropped our criteria, but we definitely don't look like we should always be looking better. And now I don't feel like that's happening. Training has changed.
Yep. Has training changed for the better or not?
I think there are places where it has been better. I think that there are tools now that help us achieve something better. There are tools that we know more about classic and classic conditioning. We know more about operant conditioning. We know more about reinforcement. We know more about pressure and release. We know more about these things. Even though the techniques can get better, I think the training's getting worse because people want to divide into camps.
Yes.
Like, do you ever feel like, and I feel this way, and I want to ask you too. I'm going to interview you for a second. And do you feel like you just don't fit in? Like you don't fit in with the harder trainers, and you don't fit in with the easy trainers, and you don't fit in with the marketing trainers, and we call them marketing trainers because all they offer is lip service. But like I just don't fit in. Like,
no, I agree.
Yep.
And I think that's what this podcast really gives us the opportunity to do, is to bring forth the stuff that when we were getting our teeth kicked in, training a lot of dogs, training a lot of people, the people that were influential to us, what they brought to the table.
He got another phone call.
I was like, that's a big thought he's coming up with.
No, sorry, I forgot to take my hand off the thing. So like, I think there's a lot of big things that we can do with this. We can keep people that have been before us, that did it better than us. We can keep their thoughts going to the best of our ability so that we don't lose that.
I agree.
I would also like to see better behaved dogs come back.
And increase people's expectations of what they're able to get from their dogs.
Yeah.
Because the pet dog training world is so pathetic now. The requirements of what a dog should be able to do.
Yeah.
And as soon as you have these untrained dogs like this, the dog's world becomes very, very small. They miss so many opportunities that they would be able to have if they could behave better in public and off a leash.
Yep.
So their lives are seriously impacted by the training of today, and not for the better. So that's my piece in it. We should close this podcast now. And so thank you to everyone that is listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.